I got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. You know, it's one of those ideas where you're just like, yes!
Dave? Dave Flynn?
On the radio!
Hold on to your butts.
Hey there, welcome to Dave Flynn on the radio, the #1 blogcast on the internet. I'm Dave Flynn, and since reading is hard, I'm going to do it for you. We've covered the body, we've covered the brain. Today, the thing that connects both, your breath. Well, your breathing, that is. And if I told you there was something that could lower your blood pressure in 5 minutes, help you fall asleep faster, improve your athletic performance, you might assume I was selling you something, but I am not. This is a blogcast. It's free. Breathing, more specifically, breathing correctly, is a magic pill you should be taking regularly. And despite decades of practice with this whole breathing thing, most of us aren't nearly as good as we think. But what's the big deal? Well, in 2014, a group of people got injected with a bacterial toxin for fun and for science, and trained in one of these protocols, they cut their own inflammation response in half. Textbooks said it wasn't possible. Textbooks lied. So, before you write this off as some incense and yoga mat territory, hear me out. One last note before we jump in. The protocols are outlined on the blog with links to the actual practitioners and the studies behind them. And I know reading is hard, but I can only do so much. You can find an idea every Monday over at winwithflynn.com. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump into the show. Magic Pills, Volume 3, Breathwork. I've been fascinated by breathwork for years. In 2015, I took an online workshop with Ramit Sethi and a retired Navy SEAL, Mark Devine. It was called How to 20x Your Potential. I remember two things from that class: the challenge of doing 1,000 push-ups in a day, which was painful, and something called box breathing. A few years later, I heard about this guy named Wim Hof, who was doing rapid breathing along with cold plunges to improve health and performance. Both protocols had an instant impact, a change of state that I could feel immediately. The science is pretty solid, and the state changes are real. Measurable nervous system shifts, blood pressure drops, and immune modulation. The hardest part? Well, in some crowds, often in my crowd, this stuff is considered a little woo-woo, a little hippy-dippy, but it's real. 5 minutes of the right breathing protocol can drop your blood pressure, shift you from fight or flight, and spike your energy and focus for hours. It's a manual override to your nervous system. The trick is matching the right protocol to the right situation. But isn't that the trick with everything? This post is a toolkit, the protocols I've used the most. Try them out, and they might inspire you to go on a breathwork journey of your own. Number 1, box breathing for tactical, acute stress relief. When to use it: before presentations, difficult conversations, high pressure situations, or any time you need to downshift from sympathetic, fight or flight, to parasympathetic, calm and focused, in about 5 minutes. I'd say that's fast enough. The magic? Used by Navy SEALs and high performers to regulate stress response in real time. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowers heart rate and blood pressure, improves focus and decision-making under pressure. What do we do? It's pretty easy. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 counts. And hold for 4 counts. Repeat that for 5 minutes or until calm. Now, I find the best results when I try to completely fill up on the inhale and completely empty out on the exhale. This takes a little practice to get the timing down, but you'll get the hang of it. Why does it work? The equal length phases create a rhythmic breathing that activates the vagus nerve, signaling safety to your nervous system. The breath holds increase CO2 tolerance, which calms the panic response. Your body interprets controlled breathing as, I'm not being chased, I'm safe, and it adjusts accordingly. Navy SEALs call it tactical breathing. NBA stars use it before free throws and golfers between shots. CEOs use it in front of their boardrooms. If it works for operators under fire, it'll work for you at an HOA meeting. Number 2, 4-7-8 breathing. This is great for sleep onset and anxiety relief. When to use it? Before bed when your mind is racing, during anxiety spirals, or anytime you need to force a parasympathetic shift and prepare for rest. The magic? Dr. Andrew Weil's adaptation of pranayama techniques. It acts as a natural tranquilizer for the nervous system. Many people fall asleep before completing 4 cycles. Now, that's not me, but I'm still a big fan of this one. What to do? Exhale completely through your mouth. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold your breath at the top for 7 counts. Exhale through your mouth for 8 counts. And you're going to want to make sort of a whooshing sound. Repeat that for 4 cycles. Again, on this protocol, I find the best results when I try to completely fill up on the inhale and empty out on the exhale. And that takes a little bit of practice, especially for the exhale, to make that whoosh last for a full 8 counts. Why it works. The extended exhale, 8 counts, and breath hold, 7 counts, force you to slow down and oxygenate deeply. The long exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system more strongly than any other phase. The breath hold builds CO2, which triggers relaxation. Dr. Weil adapted this from ancient pranayama breathing, thousands of years of tradition behind it. And I like to use it before sleep, but mostly I use it during cold plunges and also if I'm kind of bored. It's great for anxiety reduction, and Weil recommends doing it 2 to 3 times daily. Okay, number 3, Buteyko method. This is nasal breathing and reduced breathing volume. When to use it? Chronic overbreathing, asthma, anxiety, sleep issues, athletic performance improvement, daily nervous system readiness assessment. And this is a long list, but it's also a long-term breathing retraining method. It's not a quick technique. If you mouth breathe, if you snore, if you feel breathless easily, like I do when I'm recording a blogcast, if you've got asthma or anxiety, Buteyko addresses the root cause. The magic. Most modern humans chronically hyperventilate. I know, that's hard to hear. We breathe too much, too often. This lowers CO2 levels, which reduces oxygen delivery to tissues. It constricts blood vessels and keeps the nervous system in a low-grade stress state. Buteyko method retrains you to breathe less through your nose, building CO2 tolerance. The result is reduced asthma symptoms, often 70 to 80% reduction in inhaler use, which is crazy. You'll also see better sleep, less anxiety, and improved athletic performance. James Nestor's entire book, Breath, is essentially a deep dive into why Buteyko works so well. Okay, so the core Buteyko practice. First, always breathe through your nose, mouth closed, even during exercise when possible, which is pretty much during any exercise that's not at the top end VO2 max level. Practice reduced breathing. Deliberately breathe less than you want to, slower and shallower, creating just a slight air hunger, and get used to that feeling. Tape your mouth at night. Medical tape across the mouth in a vertical strip to enforce nasal breathing during sleep. And then track your BOLT score, body oxygen level test. How do you do that? You're going to exhale normally through your nose and then pinch your nose closed and time how long until you feel the first urge to breathe. Now you can pause it here and give that a try. It's not a maximum breath hold, just that first urge, and time it. Your goal is to get to 40 plus seconds. Most people are somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds, which is tragic. Okay, there's a variation on this from Brian McKenzie. It's a daily readiness variation. Okay, so for athletes and those wanting a readiness metric, like should I really go hard today or should I not? This is very similar to HRV, heart rate variability testing, but you can do it with your breath, and this is how you do it. Inhale and exhale normally 3 times through your nose. Inhale a 4th time, fully filling your lungs. When ready to exhale, start the timer and exhale slowly through your nose for as long as you can. Stop the timer when you run out of air and record your time. How'd you do? Now, 80 seconds. 80 seconds is a long time. That is elite. 60 to 80 seconds is pretty advanced. 40 to 60 seconds is intermediate. 20 to 40 is average. Now, so many people that I've pushed to try this test are in the under 20 second club. Sad but true. And this is really poor. It shows a high anxiety stress sensitivity and poor pulmonary capacity. Daily tracking. If you typically score 60 seconds and wake up with a 45 one day, your system is taxed. You probably went really hard the day before, either at the gym or at the bar. You may not want to push it hard that day. Scores below 30 seconds indicate anxiety or an anxious state. And again, you can use this as an alternative to HRV to gauge your daily readiness and ability to really push it. I just paused from recording and crushed out a 56, a little lower than my standard, but I am standing here in an anxiety state of blogcasting, fresh off an entire pot of coffee. So I'll give it a go this afternoon and see if I can get back on track. Okay, CO2 tolerance training protocol. How do we get better at this? We're going to use the walking Buteyko style exhale holds. To actively improve your CO2 tolerance, you want to breathe normally for a few cycles, exhale fully, and hold on empty while you are walking. When you feel the urge to breathe, that's the CO2 rising, not oxygen dropping. Resume normal breathing, and you can rest and then repeat for 3 to 5 rounds. Note, don't time this. You're just practicing, man. Walking makes it harder, and that's the idea. The goal is to feel that urge to breathe and work with it. The formal timed test, the McKinsey method above, is for the assessment, and the walking protocol is to train and get better. Why it works. Your urge to breathe is triggered by CO2 levels, not low oxygen. Most people chronically hyperventilate, breathing too much, too often, which keeps CO2 artificially low. This makes you less efficient at oxygenating. Blood vessels constrict. Airways become reactive, and your nervous system stays activated. Buteyko retrains your breathing reflex to tolerate higher CO2. You breathe less and oxygenate better. Nasal breathing adds nitric oxide production. It improves filtration and warms and humidifies the air. The CO2 exhale test provides a daily window into nervous system state and readiness. Soviet doctor Konstantin Buteyko discovered this treating his own hypertension in the 1950s. Reducing breathing volume lowered blood pressure and improved oxygenation. Okay, number 4, the last protocol we'll go over today is the Wim Hof method for immune modulation, energy, and state change. When to use it. Morning energy boost before cold exposure. When you need intense focus and alertness, when experimenting with voluntary immune system control, or just for fun. The magic. The only breathing protocol with peer-reviewed evidence showing voluntary control of autonomic nervous system and immune response. That is pretty awesome. Practitioners suppressed inflammatory cytokines by 50% during an acute immune challenge. They actually were injected with endotoxins. It also produces a massive neuroepinephrine spike, 200 to 300%, and sustained dopamine elevation. What to do? Take 30 to 40 deep, full belly breaths. Full inhale through the nose or mouth, passive, relaxed exhale. After the last exhale, hold your breath on empty as long as comfortable. You're just going to retain that. When you need to breathe, take a full, big inhale and hold that for 10 to 15 seconds and repeat that for 3 to 4 rounds. Now, I'll mention on the full inhale, Wim does sort of a bracing, and he says you should flex your abdomen sort of like you're going to take a dump. That's Wim, not me. I wouldn't say that. The second piece, never ever perform the Wim Hof method on or in or around water because you might actually black out. And you don't want to do that in the water. That's a bad habit. Okay, why does it work? The hyperventilation phase alkalizes your blood. It raises the pH and spikes adrenaline. The breath hold phase creates controlled hypoxia, which triggers adaptive stress responses, including enhanced immune function and mitochondrial efficiency. You're doing like a HIIT training for your nervous system. It's acute stress followed by recovery, and you'll build that resilience over time. How to choose your protocol? Well, it's pretty easy. Need calm in 5 minutes? That's the box breath. Can't sleep? Try 4-7-8 breathing. Building for long-term resilience? That's going to be the Buteyko method, the nasal breathing, and the CO2 tolerance training. That's also going to improve your athletic performance. If you need some energy or focus, try the Wim Hof method. A note on nasal breathing. Okay, before we close, your nose isn't just for smelling the flowers. It's sort of an engineered system. It's brilliant. It has turbinates that create turbulence that warms and humidifies the air. The nasal hairs filter particles, and the sinuses produce nitric oxide that dilate blood vessels and improve oxygen delivery. Your mouth, it doesn't do any of that. So your mouth is for eating and your nose is for breathing. Nitric oxide production alone makes nasal breathing worth it. Studies show a 10 to 20% better oxygen uptake with nasal breathing compared to mouth breathing. It's free performance enhancement with 0 side effects. So do it. Okay, my stack. Here's what I actually do. My breathwork stack includes Wim Hof breathing a few times a week in the mornings, box breathing or meditation the other days. I use 4-7-8 before sleep or mostly during cold exposure, and CO2 tolerance training while I walk. I actually count my strides until I get that urge to breathe. And I'm a nasal breather by default now. My mouth is always closed. I still snore a bit, but this habit has dramatically improved things, mostly for my wife. Breathwork requires a conscious effort, a conscious activation, in the way that walking or sleep doesn't. Box breathing before a tough conversation definitely works, but you got to remember to do it. Same with Wim Hof. You'll get that energy, but you've got to take the time out to suck down that oxygen. So for me, the ROI is absurd, but my consistency is a little bit lacking. As easy and magical as these pills are, I still find myself skipping them more than I should. The doom scroll is just that strong. Body, brain, breath, they stack. Get the foundation right, sharpen your mind, learn to control your state on demand. You can optimize all 3 and still feel a bit rudderless, though. You can be fit, sharp, and calm and still wonder where life is taking you, which brings us to Volume 4, Beyond. Connection, meaning, play, and learning. The protocols that make all the optimization worth doing. There we have it. That's the pod. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Give it a thumbs up. And if you've got a few extra seconds, give it a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you are listening. The engagement will make you feel so good, and it'll help other people find the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, there you go, America. I love you. I'm proud of you. I mean it. We gotta go. This is great.